there are victims like Virginia Giuffre who have testified otherwise, who have said otherwise, and you're telling the American people today that the Epstein list is a single name and it's Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we're to believe?
That's not what I'm saying. That's what you're saying. And
well,
you can say whatever you want.
Let me ask you this. When Todd Blanche went to interview Ghislaine Maxwell, she said, but did I think these guys were coming for that? I really don't. If you met Epstein, there's no way that this cast of characters, of which it's extraordinary, and some are in your cabinet, who you value as your co-workers, and you know would be with him if he was a creep or because they wanted sexual favors. A man wants sexual favors, he will find that. They didn't have to come to Epstein for that. And the next question Todd Blanche, the president's former criminal defense lawyer, asked is not who in the cabinet, who are you referring to? His question is, so when's the last time you think you were with Mr. Epstein when he got a massage? So let me ask you, who are those cabinet members that Ghislaine Maxwell was referring to that, that were part of this cast of characters associated with Mr. Epstein? Who are they?
The Deputy Attorney General took the aggressive step that no one else did and interviewed Miss Maxwell for 2 days, and we released the entirety of that transcript.
Who are the cabinet members?
I do not have that transcript in front of me. You're picking it piecemeal. The American public can read the entirety of that.
One last question, because you clearly won't tell us the cabinet members associated with Mr. Epstein. Let me ask you one last question. And that is, right after she gives this testimony in front of an FBI agent, among others, she's transferred to a minimum security prison not suitable for a sex offender like herself. Who made that decision and why?
The Bureau of Prisons.
The Bureau of Decisions made it in
prisons.
The Bureau of Prisons decided on their own, without any consultation with Blanche or anyone else, that they were going to suddenly, after this interview, completely unrelated to this interview, completely unrelated to anything she said, move her to a prison not suitable for a sex offender. You want the American people to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No. I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of inmates.
Not in the weeds?
What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reform, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You are a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised that you continue to lie from your perch and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charade. You are a political buffoon at best.
Well, you can take an internet troll.
Take it to the bank that the FBI is protecting this country and the state and citizens of California. We are bringing historic reform. Point of order. But all you care about is a child sex predator that was prosecuted by a prior administration, and the Obama Justice Department and the Biden Justice Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
you said I'm the most transparent FBI director in history. 33,000 pages of information to you. I challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Washington was burning today. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this channel. So let's get to it. So today, Kash Patel went to a Senate hearing, and he had some serious, I guess, outbursts with a couple of senators. One of them happened to be Adam Schiff, who I feel is probably one of the biggest liars, the biggest fraudsters to ever sit in the Senate. And during when Adam Schiff was a congressman, he, along with others, went after Trump with I don't know, all kind of stuff. He was, they said he was, colluding with the Russians. He started January 6th. They tried to impeach him so many times and they failed. But, you know, this was just to ruin Trump's image. And so when I hear like liberals now talking about cancel culture, the right after us for cancel culture. I mean, since 2016, the left has been doing this cancel culture stuff that, has gotten out of control. Hollywood was doing it. Mainstream media was doing it. I mean, it was getting ridiculous. And now that, Charlie Kirk was assassinated by a left-wing lunatic, now all of a sudden, people are saying some really stupid and idiotic things, calling the man, Charlie Kirk, a racist, which he never was, but people just don't like to listen. They like to take certain, they like to edit certain things, comments that were said, and then play what they want you to hear to make this person sound, terrible. It's the same thing with Trump, when Trump talked about, fine people on both sides. And they try to say he was saying that the KKK were fine people. And that's not what Trump was saying. They never played the full video. So Adam Schiff he was held to task. I'm sorry, because Kash Patel told the truth. Kash Patel told the truth about Adam Schiff. When Adam Schiff said, "Do you think the American people are stupid enough to believe that?" Kash Patel returned fire by saying, "No, I think the American people believe the truth. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You are a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward." He also called him a political buffoon at best. I mean, you just can't get more raw than this. And you can tell there's no love lost between the two. But I think Kash Patel really probably hit a nerve. You know, I think that Adam Schiff needs to be held accountable, because there was a lot of things that Adam Schiff did during the Russiagate, and stuff that he knew was not true, but he went along with it anyway and really tried to destroy not just Trump, but other people's lives.
Well, the Intelligence Committee Chairman, Devin Nunes, declined an invitation to speak with us tonight, but we did talk to the ranking Democrat on the committee, Adam Schiff. Congressman Schiff, as we speak this evening, is there any evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia?
Well, I think what we saw in the hearing today was Director Comey acknowledged that there was sufficient evidence and credible information that warranted his opening up a counterintelligence investigation. That is there coordination with a foreign power? Has someone become an agent of a foreign power? So there was sufficient evidence, certainly, for the director to open that investigation. That's certainly consistent also with what I've seen. And the way I've described it is there is circumstantial evidence, certainly, of collusion or coordination. There has been direct evidence of deception. And I think people, I hope, got the sense today during this long hearing about just why it's so important that both Congress and the FBI do a thorough investigation.
But to be crystal clear, this evening, as we speak, there is no hard evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. You said there's circumstantial evidence.
I would not say, I would not phrase it the way that you did. And circumstantial evidence can be very powerful and is hard evidence. But you can certainly prove many cases on the basis of circumstantial evidence. So people shouldn't underestimate the power of that.
During your committee hearing, someone using President Trump's official Twitter handle took issue with what was being said by the FBI director, and the director was asked and he rebutted that. That was pretty unusual, in fact, maybe unprecedented for a congressional hearing.
It was. You don't usually have a real-time fact check of a presidential statement by the director of the FBI and the director of the NSA, but we did get that today. And I think the comment the president had misrepresented was the suggestion that the FBI and NSA had said there was no effect by the Russians on the electoral process. That simply wasn't true.
Why do you think that Donald Trump and the White House continue to insist that he was the target of surveillance on the orders of President Obama when there doesn't seem to be any evidence to support that?
Well, it's, one of two things. It's either that the president simply cannot admit error, and that might be the most, the least damning explanation, as critical as that would be. Or the more concerning would be he can't tell the difference between fact and fiction, and he has somehow persuaded himself of this alternate reality. That would be an even worse scenario, and honestly, at this point, I can't tell which it is.
Representative Adam Schiff, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Scott.
So I want you to know that, or take note that everything Adam Schiff said in that little interview with CBS was a lie. It was a total lie. The whole Russian story was made up by Hillary Clinton and her camp during the 2016 election. And it was to throw people off of her and those 32,000 emails and put the focus on Trump with a made-up story, a fake dossier, and they turned around and ruined people. Now, Papadopoulos was approached by somebody who said, the Russians had all this information on Hillary Clinton. But that's as far as it went. It never really got into Russia. Russia never contacted the Trump administration, Trump camp or anything like that. So, and let's go back. In 2015, John Podesta held a big meeting in his mansion. These are the liberals that will talk about fighting for the little people, but they have these mansions and so forth. And he had all left-wing media, politicians, preachers, all these people, and the goal was to help Hillary Clinton win. But by having the media and so forth focus on three people: Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, and Donald Trump. Those three, they felt Hillary would slaughter. Hillary Clinton would wipe the floor with them. And I guess the media and all them focused their attention on Donald Trump. The problem is Donald Trump was too honest. He was a realist. He said what he had to say. He didn't care how your feelings was. He didn't care how you felt about him. He said it like it is, and he meant it. And the media really took advantage of that, trying to destroy him and his credibility and everything. Even found some old tape from whenever, with him and another guy talking about women. And it was funny that they brought that up. But as soon as Donald Trump won, Hillary Clinton really felt like she was in it, like the White House was hers. Started walking around like she won. And little did she know that all her little schemes and everything, with Obama helping her, they spying on his campaign, all of that, he still won the White House. So America was saved by not putting this crooked, lying, narcissistic individual in the White House. So now the Russian host, because he won, they needed to destroy him. And so they continue with this Russian hoax, saying that, with Mueller, saying Mueller didn't even know half the investigation. That's how bad it was. But Mueller investigating him, they said they found all this evidence, and it was all a lie. And it was all a lie. And it was really sad to see this, but they used clowns, I say. They used clowns like Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow, the left love Rachel Maddow, okay? And anything Rachel Maddow say is gospel. And Rachel Maddow is telling her crowd about this, like if they did some beautiful research, but they're telling because they're listening to Adam Schiff and they're going along with it, and they're telling you a lie, a made-up story, okay? And it's really sad, but yes, it is a made-up story that the left continues. Well, sometimes I think they still keep saying he's a Russian agent. These people are ridiculous. But I got to be careful what I say because the left is very violent and they'll kill you. Okay, so I got to be careful what I say. But yeah, so Rachel Maddow, like I said, was their go-to person when spreading this lie. And, you know, Rachel Maddow is another one. She needs to be off the air. I'm about sick of her.
But first, it's worth taking stock of where we are in the investigation. During our March hearing, I posed the question of whether the Trump campaign colluded with Russia in any aspect of its influence operations. In essence, did the Russians offer to help the campaign, and did the campaign accept?
Did the Russians offer to help the campaign, and did the campaign accept? Congress spent a good chunk of its Kinko's budget for the year today. You can see here House Intelligence Committee staffers carrying in dozens of giant poster boards with Russian ads and social media content printed out on them large. Congress today made public a whole bunch of the anti-Hillary Clinton and otherwise divisive ads that Russia paid for in rubles, very subtle, as part of the Russian attack on our election last year. House Intel said what they released was a representative sampling of those Russian ads, enough to get a granular sense of some of what Russia did to target U.S. voters in the election online. Lawyers for Google, Facebook, and Twitter spent yesterday on Capitol Hill talking to the Senate Judiciary Committee. Today, they were back for round two, answering questions about the Russian attack, how many clicks certain ads got, how many tens of thousands of Russian-operated Twitter accounts there were targeting our election, how many thousands of those Russian Twitter accounts were operated not just as bots, but by real-life Russian operatives. And that quantitative stuff is all good, useful information for helping us figure out what Russia did and how they did it, and how U.S. tech companies didn't care one whit while it was happening, and in some ways they still don't seem to. But it's one thing to nail down what Russia did and to figure out if some of what they did could have been stopped while they were doing it. But the top Democrat on intelligence today, Adam Schiff, took the occasion of this open hearing with these social media companies today. He took this occasion to nail down the other most important part of this.
Whether the Trump campaign colluded with Russia in any aspect of its influence operations.
Now, that is still often described as an open question, right? But it's really not anymore. And Congressman Adam Schiff took the occasion of having that open hearing today basically to nail that point to the wall. He just off and went there. He laid it all out in his opening statement for the record in an open session. Boom, boom, boom. Watch this.
We now know as a result of the guilty plea by Trump campaign foreign policy advisor George Papadopoulos that the Russians approached the Trump campaign as early as April of 2016 to inform them that they were in possession of dirt on Hillary Clinton in the form of thousands of stolen emails. The Trump campaign was informed of Russia's involvement with the stolen emails even before our country was aware of it. The uppermost levels of the Trump campaign were also informed that the Russians had dirt on Clinton that was offered to the campaign in what was described as part of the Putin government's effort to help Mr. Trump. The president's son said that he would love the assistance and suggested that the best timing would be in the late summer. What is clear is this. The Kremlin repeatedly told the campaign it had dirt on Clinton and offered to help it, and at least one top Trump official, the president's own son, accepted.
The Kremlin offered dirt to the Trump campaign. The president's campaign said yes to that offer. That's no longer an open question. All that stuff has now been proven and admitted to. Adam Schiff, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee today, using his time today, using his opening statement today to walk through, ding, 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 point by point, what we've already learned in black and white, in written correspondence, in public statements, and in freaking court filings about all the times the Trump campaign was offered help by Russia to influence our election, and all the times the Trump campaign said, yes, please. Congressman Schiff using this hearing today to make a very public case that this is no longer an open question. Congressman Schiff joins us next.
Yes, these people are liars. And now that the truth came out, they don't want to either apologize or anything because they would have to admit that the whole thing was a setup and that they targeted President Trump and anybody who was around him. They didn't care about their livelihoods. They didn't care what would happen to them. All they cared was that they would get Donald Trump. And whoever was in his way and was standing in front of him, they would destroy just to get to Trump. And as you can see, it failed because Trump is still our president.
Today, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco said at a cybersecurity conference here in New York that the Justice Department's investigation into efforts by Trump and his allies to overturn the 2020 election won't be deterred if the former president declares his intention to run again. And this is important to emphasize here because this comes really in the wake of some, significant and multiple reports suggesting that Trump might soon declare his intention to run again in 2024 in an attempt to shield himself from prosecution. Monaco's remarks also came, of course, just hours after Rachel, here on this show last night, presented a copy of a memorandum Attorney General Merrick Garland sent to all Justice Department employees back in May, saying specifically that, in essence, no one was allowed to investigate anyone connected to a presidential candidate without his expressed permission. Joining us now is former U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama and co-host of the Sisters-in-Law podcast, Joyce Vance. Joyce, it's great to see you again. Thank you for being here tonight. Let me start by getting your reaction to Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco saying today what I think a lot of people wanted to hear and know, that the DOJ will continue its investigation of Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election, whether the former president runs in 2024 or not. How reassuring is that statement?
So I find it to be very reassuring. I think that this is a reaffirmance of the speech that the Attorney General made on January 5, when he said that the Justice Department would follow the evidence and chase the facts, no matter who was implicated, no matter how high up they were. And I took that at the time as a clear statement that the department would not flinch if it turned out to be the case that the former president was implicated for criminal conduct. I hear the Deputy Attorney General's statement today as being a reaffirmance of that, a commitment that no matter what the former president's status becomes as a candidate, that DOJ will continue the work it has begun.
Last night, I'm sure you saw Rachel showed a copy of an election sensitivities memo that Garland sent to DOJ employees back in May, pretty much saying no one is allowed to investigate anyone connected to a presidential candidate without his permission. I know you have thoughts on this. What might they be?
So I think it's really understandable that seeing a Barr memo being carried over into this administration would raise alarm. But I don't have that level of concern around this memo. Career prosecutors know that if you want to open any investigation of this nature, you've already got to go through something called the Public Integrity Unit up in Main Justice in Washington, D.C. for prior permission and approval. And that's not just a check the box kind of approval. It's important for prosecutors and the folks in Main Justice to have a back and forth, to talk about the evidence, to make sure that allegations are really providing a strong basis for opening a case. So what this memo does is it's actually more protective of candidates and campaigns. There's no political bias in this memo. It simply adds to those already existing requirements, the requirement that the Attorney General be in the loop and that he or she as well have the ability to look over the evidence, And at the point where a case is being opened, that they're involved in that decision-making process. It seems to me that this is more restoration of rule of law, and DOJ is back to business as usual than anything else. I've heard folks say that, well, this sort of a memo could be used by a future attorney general who's not as scrupulous as Merrick Garland in a really bad, malicious way. And while that's true, if we have an attorney general in the future who's inclined to behave that way, whether this memo is in place or not, they'll certainly do whatever it is that they're intent upon doing. For now, this signals to me, as someone who's been involved in over 25 years at DOJ with this sort of ongoing election work, that the commitment remains in place that DOJ's job is not to interfere with elections. DOJ conducts its investigations in a way that's respectful of American voters' right to determine the outcome of elections. And you'll remember, Eamon, that one of the real problems at the end of the Trump administration was Trump trying to corrupt DOJ and going to the acting Attorney General Rosen, who told him persistently, there is no fraud here. And Trump said, just say that there's corruption and I'll take it from there. You know, don't worry if there's really evidence. You just say it and I'll keep going. This is the kind of memo that keeps a president from corrupting DOJ in that sense. It keeps the president from going to some sort of rogue actors. This is, I think, ultimately good, but DOJ has a lot of work to do when it comes to helping the public regain confidence in their operations and explaining the processes that they go through so that we can have that confidence.
So see, the setup was on. They knew that Trump was going to run for the 2024 election, so they needed to stop him at any means necessary. And that means weaponizing the Justice Department, getting the states to go after him. They have Fannie Willis, this buffoon, to go after Trump. The other big ogre, Letitia James, and oh God, I can't remember his name. The other one in New York, that went after, Trump. They did everything possible except throw the kitchen sink at Trump. And he still won. He is still our president. So, you know, these people are lunatics, but, I just want to say before I go, you know, thank you for everything. Please remember to like, subscribe, share this channel, and let's make the Marc Perspective a huge success. Thank you, guys. Have another video out for you, but I'm going to leave you guys something before I go, okay? All right, guys. Peace.
I think you're not going to be around long. I think this might be your last oversight hearing. Because as much as you supplicate yourself to the will of Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States of America, Donald Trump has shown us in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose. This may be the last time I have a hearing with you because I don't think you're long for your job. But I'm going to tell you this. I pray for you. I pray for you that you can step up and defend your oath, defend the Constitution, and do a much better job of defending this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do you want to say anything?
Yes,
at this
sir.
point?
That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If you want to talk about
dividing this country,
it is
I
my
follow
time.
you on your social media posts that
It is
tear
my
this country
time
apart.
to
There
address
should be a
your
unifying-
falsehoods.
Oh,
You are an
you can try
embarrassment
all
to the
you
division
want
in this country.
to not
Senator,
take
it is
responsibility
my time.
for what
You
you
had
have
your
said.
time.
Sir, you're
Your
making
time
a
is
mockery of this
over.
committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
You
The
know how
people
far
of New
we've
Jersey
come
tell me
since
what my
you
time
tell-
is.
Senator-
You can't lecture me.
You can tell me
Sir,
my time's over?
You may be the charge of the
I'm
FBI,
not going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Senator Booker, I announced at the beginning of this meeting that this back and forth talking over each other doesn't work. And I said if that happened, I asked Patel not to respond, and I was going to give him some time after the senator's time was up to respond. And he has the privilege to do that. uninterrupted.
Mr.
So
Chairman, one point of
go
order.
ahead, Mr.
I've
Patel.
watched him talk over us, and you've never once criticized him for us not even being able to get our questions out.
Well,
he has been rude and disrespectful to senator after senator.
And when the senators were not giving him a chance to answer, I didn't stop the senator either. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the FBI, under my 7-month leadership, were failing this administration in this country, why do we have 23,000 violent felons arrested this year alone? A double increase from that time last year. Why is it that we have seized 6,000 weapons? Why have we found 1,500 child predators and arrested them? Why have we 300 human traffickers in jail? Why have we found and identified 4,700 children? Why have we seized 1,600 kilograms of fentanyl, enough to kill a third of the American public, a 25% increase alone from last year? 88,000 kilograms of cocaine seized, 7,000 kilograms of meth seized, and that's just on our criminal operations in summer heat. How is it possible that we're taking 8 kilograms off the streets of the cities in New Jersey and preventing the deaths of 607,000 people this year alone, a failure of the FBI and my leadership? How is it that we have counterintelligence arrests already this year exceeding the numbers from the entirety of last year? 33% increase in PRC, 83% in Russia, 60% in the CI space as it relates to Iran, and we haven't even talked about CT, the southern border, the northern border.